Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And we have the good Dr. Georgette Bennett on the line as well, Rev.
Okay, so I have to begin with a...
Reverend Bernard, how are you?
I am doing well, recovering as I can from the full hip replacement surgery I just had. So,
okay, yeah.
I'm coming along, gaining greater mobility. I'm so sorry. I was looking forward to the event, especially meeting up again with Henry Louis Gates, and we worked together on a project that he did for PBS.
Yeah, and I haven't seen you since the program that we did at the Council on Foreign Relations, so I was looking forward to seeing you again, and I hope that will happen sometime soon after you're fully recovered from your hip replacement.
We believe that. I've been getting around, but being careful anyway. So great to have you on the program. Thank you again.
I didn't tell her anything about the hip replacement because I don't want to violate HIPAA rules. So that's a good pun, by the way. That's a good pun there.
Except that you're not subject to HIPAA rules.
Yeah, well, I respect confidence, confidentiality.
There you go.
But he is subject to Jewish rule.
Here we go.
Jewish rule.
Here we go.
Because our scriptures tell us that we are not permitted to engage in gossip. So he was being a very good Jew by not telling me about your hip replacement.
Yeah. Rev, always be careful with someone who was married to a rabbi. They quote scripture, the rules. Yeah.
I have someone who's married to a reverend. What can I do?
Yeah. You mean that's you? You're married to a reverend.
No, my wife.
She's a reverend. Yeah, she's a reverend. All right, we're good to go. So let's talk about different aspects of your life, Georgette. In terms of your Syrian involvement and the religion, what is it called, religious side or something? The abuse of religion, and obviously the book. When is the book coming out?
January 27th, 5 days from now.
Does Josh Shapiro...
To coincide with Holocaust Remembrance Day. Does he appear in the book?
Does Josh Shapiro know that your book is coming out the same day as his? Wow. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania.
Not
your Josh.
I'm sure his will get much more attention than mine. So I'm grateful that you're giving it some.
All right. Let's see here. Rev, you ready?
Yeah, and we will want a website or something at the end of the program just to let listeners know where they can find the book. So we'll ask you that question. Where can they find the book? Okay. All right. Excellent. Yep. We're ready to go.
All right. Remember, Georgette, this is aired Sunday, so anything that's time-related, Sunday.
Okay.
So the book will be published tomorrow, or was it Tuesday?
27th,
that's
5 days from now.
27th. Okay. Yeah, that's Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but on the air it will be Tuesday the 27th. All right. Elias, we're ready to go. Ready. Good morning. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
And Reverend, I think we should tell all of our listeners around the country, this program is brought to you tariff-free. There is no tariff on this program.
Are
thank
you
God.
Sure? But look, you never know.
When I walked into the studio, it was. When I walk out, it might be different.
Just qualify that as of today. As of today.
So, Rev, let me just say this to you. We all have personal heroes. And when I first became a rabbi, I joined the New York Board of Rabbis, and I went to the first meeting. And I walk in to this large room, and there was Dr. Billy Graham. He wasn't a member of the Board of Rabbis. He was the guest presenter. And sitting next to him was Rabbi Mark Tannenbaum, whom I didn't know. But he motioned to me, because I was the youngest one at that point. He says, come up here. And I sat next to him. And later I learned that Mark Tannenbaum, this very special human being, was a major architect of interfaith relations. He participated in the drafting of Nostra Aetate, which changed, Jewish Catholic relations. And he was married to Dr. Georgette Bennett. And then I learned about her credentials. And in 2013, she founded the Multifaith Alliance, performing extraordinary humanitarian work benefiting 4 million Syrian war victims. She founded the Tannenbaum Center for Interreligious Understanding, Combating Religious Prejudice, co-founder of the Global Covenant of Religions, fighting against the use of religion to promote or justify violence. And recently she authored a book entitled Half Jew, Full Life. I'm not sure what she does in her spare time, but she is another hero of mine. So I'm so honored that she's been able to come on the program. Good morning, Dr. Bennett.
Good morning, Rabbi Potasnik. And what I do in my spare time is to try to find some time to get onto your busy calendar.
That's a few of us. So let me ask, religion has inspired extraordinary acts of compassion, justice, and even self-sacrifice. Yet it has also been used as a tool for domination, violence, exploitation, and control. Where do we begin the discussion of the importance of religion, the value of it, and at the same time, a pattern of harnessing it for power?
Well, that's actually a question that I have been grappling with ever since I founded the Tannenbaum Center in 1992. How do you harness the power of religion to do good, while at the same time tamping down its power to inspire violence? And I think that it certainly begins with understanding religious texts, because there are so many texts that, if not interpreted within their historical context, and if not interpreted correctly, can be used as a justification for violence and extremism. And of course, the perfect example of that is ISIS. If you look at the ISIS playbook, which is full of supposed lessons from the Quran, but then you look at the response to the ISIS playbook from 120 Islamic scholars who took apart each one of those assumptions, you can see how religious texts can be misused, and certainly in the hands of demagogues who inspire people to commit terrible violence. But if we focus on the core values of religions, the universalistic aspects of it, I think that provides us with very good tools for getting along. And certainly one aspect of religion, in this case Judaism, that has been a very important inspiration for my work are the 40 references in the Talmud to caring for the stranger. There's only one reference in the Hebrew Scriptures to loving your neighbor as yourself, because it's very easy to love somebody who's like yourself. It's much more difficult to love the stranger.
You know what somebody said years ago? The most difficult commandment is loving your neighbor. He said, especially if you have a neighbor like I have. Trying to love that person is just impossible. Georgette, let's talk about the book for a moment, because I was privileged to also know Pips, that you mentioned the book, What does it mean to be half Jew, full life? How's one a half Jew? We know Jewish, non-Jewish, but I don't know about a half Jew. And what is a Mishling?
So I'll start with the first part of your question. Pips was born in Berlin to an Aryan mother and a Jewish father. So technically, he was not a Jew. He also was not a deportation case. So he could have avoided a lot of the horrors of the Holocaust. But at age 13, the very week that the Nuremberg laws were enacted, that's when he decided to become a bar mitzvah. And so by becoming a bar mitzvah, the label Jew got stuck on him. Now, Mishling, he was a Mishling first degree, which meant that he was of mixed parentage, but again, not a deportation case. And even though he was now considered a Jew, having become a bar mitzvah, as long as he was living with that Aryan parent, he was not subject to deportation. But he fell in love with a girl who was a full Jew. And so when the summons came to her family to report to Gestapo headquarters, he convinced her not to go with her family, which was about to be deported. He convinced her to go underground and go into hiding with him in Berlin. But for his entire life, he tried to shed what he called his Goyish side, his non-Jewish side. And he wanted nothing more than to be recognized as a full Jew. He said, I don't want to be a half Jew. I want to be a full Jew. And as passionate as he was about that identity, the fact is that the Orthodox branch of Judaism would not have recognized him as a Jew. And as passionate as he was about Israel, he would not have been entitled to live in Israel under the law of return.
Interesting. Here you do a book about the abuse of religion, the hatred of the other, and you're talking about someone who lived through hatred and loved his tradition and only wanted to be recognized as a member of that tradition. What a contrast that is.
I think it's interesting that, who decides whether you're half Jew or whole Jew? Is this in the hands of a religious power elite?
No. It's in the rules of one's religion. And in Judaism, one is considered a Jew based on matrilineal descent, based on your mother. Now, that's become loosened up in the Reform branch of Judaism. Patrilineal descent is recognized as well. Yeah. But that's a fairly recent development. Yeah. Would you agree with that, Rabbi?
Yeah, and it's also how you're raised. In other words, it could be patrilineal descent, but you have to be raised as a Jew. It's not just, from whom you identify with. We're going to have to take a break.
Or conversion.
We're going to take a break here and come back because I know a host of questions because I want to get into also your efforts in Syria. You know what I was thinking, Georgette? You and your late husband, Rabbi Mark Tannenbaum, you did what others probably maybe or didn't dare to do or want to do and didn't, touching, issues that some people just stayed away from, but not you and not him. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll be back with more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Networks.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
You know that this Multifaith Alliance that I spoke of earlier, that Georgette founded, did some extraordinary work in Syria, helping victims of conflict there. And I think people looked at you, Georgette, and said, you're crazy. You're going into Syria, you're a Jew, you're subjecting yourself to such danger, and yet you were able to do remarkable work. Talk about that effort.
Well, it was actually counterintuitive because, of course, most Syrians would just as soon see me dead as a Jew. It's not their fault. That's the way they're indoctrinated. But when Mark was very involved with the International Rescue Committee, my late husband, and very deeply involved with refugee issues. So when he died, I offered to take his seat on the board. In 2013, IRC issued a report on the Syrian crisis. And when I read that report, I was absolutely stunned by the magnitude of the suffering, especially women and especially children. And it so echoed my own family's experience during the Holocaust. And then Leviticus 19:13 just kept reverberating through my brain. Thou shalt not stand by idly while the blood of your brother cries out from the earth. And I felt I couldn't stand by idly. I felt I had to do something. And I saw an opportunity here not only to save lives. I mean, we've now delivered more than $630 million worth of aid, most of it into Syria, but now also we're doing a lot of work in Gaza, in Turkey, in Ukraine. So it was an opportunity to save lives as well as build bridges between sworn enemies, and those enemies being Syrians and Israelis, most of whom never encounter each other except on the other end of a gun. And it was extraordinarily gratifying how hearts and minds changed. You know, I'm a sociologist. Sociology 101 says contact and communication is the way to dispel misconceptions and stereotypes. And I certainly saw that happening in these partnerships between Syrians, Israelis, Jews, Muslims to alleviate terrible suffering. The Multifaith Alliance has more than 100 partner organizations, most of them faith-based, but also secular ones. But that certainly is a demonstration of the use of religion to do good, the use of religion to serve as the moral conscience of the world in the face of terrible suffering.
And look at what Syria and Israel, look how they're beginning to get to develop better relations with one another.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That didn't happen in a vacuum. Yeah.
No, and the Multifaith Alliance has been involved in some of that back-channel work.
I have to point to something that you said that is so powerful, and I'd love to know how you got there. This is what you said. You said it's not their fault. That's the way they were indoctrinated. How do you get there? I mean, to make a statement like that is to understand the context of the individual who is acting violently against you. Tell us how you got there.
Well, one of the ways I got there is to recognize that generally behind hate is a lot of fear, and behind fear is a lot of ignorance. And one of the ways to address hate is to do very deep listening in terms of what those fears are. But on a more, pragmatic level, all you have to do is look at the educational system. What is it that children are taught from a very early age? Now, children are not born hating. Children have to learn to hate. That's become a cliche, but it also happens to be the truth. Right. So one has to look at the mechanisms of how people come to have the attitudes that they have. And then when they're confronted with the other, the object of that hatred, it's extraordinary how things can change. You know, the CEO of the Multifaith Alliance, Shadi Martini, himself a Syrian refugee who went through that same educational system and grew up with exactly those attitudes, suddenly he was confronted with Israelis, and he wondered, what do they want? Is this Mossad? What does Mossad want from me? It wasn't. It was Israelis who had no agenda other than to help Syrians at their time of need, of greatest need. And he, like many other Syrians, wait a minute, I've been taught that Israelis want to kill me and drive me off my land. Jews are the devil because they support Israel. But wait a minute, it's not the Israelis who are killing us and driving off our land. It's our own government. And if that was a lie, what else was a lie? And also Israelis, who are brought up to be suspicious of Arabs, as they encountered Syrians, they too had a complete change of heart. In fact, some of the most gratifying moments I had, we did 2 years of track 2 diplomacy with Syrians and Israelis meeting in various capitals around Europe where Syrians could get a visa to enter. And one of the Israelis brought along her young child, a toddler. And it was so beautiful to see the Syrians fussing over this Israeli baby, and Israelis and Syrians laughing together, and then Syrians coming to Israel and feeling completely at home. This is what it's about. This is what my life's work is about.
Yeah. Well,
so we have just a little more time. Georgette, you mentioned you're a child of survivors. I'm a child of survivors. And we see survivors are diminishing in numbers. What does that say about our responsibility? They were witnesses to the atrocities. We're witnesses to the witnesses.
Yes. Well, that's one of the reasons that I finally wrote this book, because this is yet another story that I think needs to be told. And it's a rather different story of a survivor than many of the survivor stories. But especially in the face of Holocaust denial, it's so important to, as you said, Rabbi, to keep bearing witness. And especially with so much of what we see going on in Western countries today, Western democracies, it's really a cautionary tale of how authoritarianism can creep up on us, and how dangerous it is to be in denial and not to have eyes open when it's happening.
Yeah.
We have
about a minute left. Go ahead, Rev.
We've got it. Are you going to let her go so easily, Rabbi? I mean, we've got.
I can come back. You can invite me back.
You want to stay on for another segment, Georgette? You have time?
If you will have me, I'm happy to stay.
Yeah. See what the Rev did to me? Do you see? I only thought we had Jewish guilt. See how he did it? He said, "You're just going to let her go like that? You think we should Yeah, no, of course. All right, so we're going to come back, and we'll do more of the Rev and the Rabbi, Rev.
So stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on Red Apple Radio Networks.
Busted. The reviews are in. Awesome. You wanted more Joe Concha. And we heard you. More Joe. More show.
We're talking to you. Under promise and over deliver.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus Sunday mornings at 11 on 77 WABC.
Jimmy Kimmel no longer tries to be funny. Not that he ever really was.
Joe Concha. Weeknights at 9. Plus Sunday mornings at 11.
Democrats defending cocaine coming into the country.